not the periphery. We're going to hear 5 different fascinating experiences today that span the globe, from Hungary to Libya, to Niger, to Kenya, to Tanzania. And all of them are engaging with how do you provide programs for very specific marginalized populations through a system strengthening lens. And all of the actors that you're going to hear from today are going to have that system strengthening element to it. It's also one of my own areas of passion in research, so I'm just delighted to hear from all of these individuals today. The first person we will hear from is Mara Tisseraluna, and I will not read her biography, which is available in the program, but just give one fact about each person that they wanted us to share today. And Mara's is that although you will hear about her experiences in Hungary with the Hungarian Helsinki Committee, she is actually Argentine of nationality and 100% Latin American. So we're going to get a Latin spin on work in Hungary. And with that, 10 minutes to you, Mara.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Besides being 100% Latin American, I am 100% against the Hungarian government. So please, if after this presentation you want to know more about the situation, because I won't be able to fit all in within 10 minutes, of course, you can come and talk to me. So I have no problem answering your questions. So I work for the Hungarian Helsinki Committee, which is the largest and most relevant human rights organization in Hungary. It is mainly a legal-based organization, so the main actions are providing free legal aid to asylum seekers and refugees and people from minorities in Hungary. And they also engage, my lawyer colleagues also engage in strategic litigation, both in the national level and in the international level, so at the Court of Human Rights of the European Union and an International Court of Human Rights. An important thing is that I have a background in children's rights, and so everything that I'm going to present comes from the point of view of a human rights organization and children's rights in general. So I am going to start by giving you a little bit of context. Then I am going to show how the tackling of the Hungarian government during the crisis, the 2015 crisis, affected asylum-seeking and migrant children. And finally, I will explain what the Hungarian Helsinki Committee has been doing to counteract these actions by the government. As many of you might know, during the 2015-2016 crisis, humanitarian crisis called like badly run migration crisis, but okay, the crisis in the management of European governments of the flows of people passing through different roads. Hungary became the third point of entry to the European Union through what is called as the Eastern Mediterranean road. During that time, the government gave a policy reply to the flows of migrants that was mainly neglect, so neglecting people that were passing through the Hungarian territory, and oppression by the police forces. So this was the main answer, which was why, from the beginning, NGOs were very much involved in the humanitarian response. At that time, the Hungarian Helsinki Committee, of course, provided legal aid and information for the asylum seekers and migrants passing through the territory. In that time, okay, we saw these images, like awful images of police forces of repressing the people who were trying to pass through the country to get to Austria and Germany. Okay, in order for you to understand how important the work of the Hungarian Helsinki Committee is in Hungary, you need to know that Hungary is a very small country with very little tradition in refugee protection. So the system was not at all prepared to respond to 170,000 asylum applications, which is what happened in 2015. And the main response was what is called the dismantling of the asylum system. Okay, so what the government did was to enact new laws, also modify the main laws of the country, so the constitution of the country, in order to deter asylum seekers, to detain them in the border with Serbia, not to allow them to enter the territory, and punish those who enter the territory. They did this through legal and physical barriers. The main physical barrier is this wire fence that they built in the border with Serbia and Croatia that I suppose you already saw, and the obligation that all asylum seekers needed to be detained in the so-called transit zones. Okay, which is, I have a little video about transit zones. This is a picture of the pre-transit zones, which is where the asylum seekers and other migrants were waiting to be able to enter the detention center transit zones in order to wait indefinitely for their asylum claims to be reviewed. How did this affect children? So there are many different points that I am going to present, and I am going to present how the Helsinki Committee tried to counteract these policies. Oh my God. I speak slower than what I thought that I did. Okay. So the main thing that I want to talk about is detention, because as I said before, asylum seekers are detained indefinitely. They enter the transit zones and they don't know if they will be there for 3 months, 6 months, 5 years. No one knows anything. The staff doesn't know anything. And that, of course, has psychological consequences on children. So what the Helsinki Committee has been doing is to engage in strategic litigation in national and mainly international fora, like I said before, in order to challenge these detentions. They are unlawful detentions. They are not legally backed, so they can be challenged in international fora because they go against EU and international human rights law. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that the government enacted some discriminatory laws by which children above 14 years old don't have the same rights. Asylum seeker children above 14 years old cannot benefit from the same rights as children below 14 years old. So they are detained in these transit zones indefinitely, unlike those below 14 who are placed in a children's home, which depends on the Child Protection Authority. Now the government is trying to close this child protection home. And so what the Helsinki Committee has been doing is to try to make sure that the best interest of the child and the dignity of these children that are placed in the children's homes is respected while the moving is done. So this has been a very big problem during the past month. And one of the lessons that I wanted to talk about was that in these extremely adversarial conditions, it is very difficult to present this in 10 minutes because the government has been doing everything that a government can do to put obstacles to NGOs working in the country to help asylum seekers. If you follow the situation, you know this. And yeah. Okay. And one of the major strategies that the Helsinki has been using is to make partnerships with other NGOs. The NGO sector is not super big in Hungary, as you can imagine, but those few organizations that exist collaborate all the time with the Helsinki Committee because there's no other way to work. They are basically a migration organization, an organization that provides psychological support for asylum seekers, UNHCR, SOS Children's Villages, and a little bit of UNICEF. And they have created a roundtable to discuss child protection issues affecting asylum-seeking children so that all of them can collaborate and they can do advocacy together to counteract all of these policies from the government and to raise awareness internationally that this is happening in Hungary, which is why I am here, to let you know that this is happening. And this is very important also, appearing on the media appearances to raise awareness among the Hungarian population who doesn't really know that this is happening. And another very important strategy is to collaborate with international organizations, especially multilateral organizations that carry out visits to the country and monitoring visits, because the government has taken out the right that NGOs used to have to monitor these detention centers, and it stopped providing data on the asylum seekers that enter the country, which means that NGOs have no information, no accurate information on what is going on in the detention centers. As you know, this is an obstacle to presenting litigation cases because you need to have evidence, of course, of what is going on when you're going to present a case internationally at an international court. And what the Helsinki Committee does is to collaborate. For instance, a short time ago, the UN rapporteur on the rights of migrants was in Hungary. We collaborated with him, providing information, and he collaborated with us, giving us information on what is going on inside of the detention centers. So thank you very much. And as I said before, I like talking about what is going on in Hungary is my hobby now these days. So if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. Also, like the Nepalese guy said, visit Hungary, okay? It is an awful country if you're an asylum seeker, but if you're another person, you can visit it. You can visit me. I don't have many friends because I denounce these kinds of things, so you can come and I will show you around. Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
And you are a woman close to my heart because you came in at 9 minutes and 30 seconds rather than the full 10-minute allotment. So